is Joy News Prime.
Welcome to another edition of Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up, New Patriotic Party cites instances it says contradicts President Mahama's declaration in a recent interview with the BBC that he's never accepted a bribe. Government accused of not showing enough commitment to retrieving over 1.2 billion cedis in loans giving out to service providers under the now defunct Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Agency. 16 police chiefs, including Accra Region Commander, transferred in yet another shake-up in the police service.
And coming up in business, Monetary Policy Committee of Bank of Ghana again maintains policy rate at 26%, a move the governor says will stimulate economic growth. And then Ghana Water Company downplays suggestions that treated water from its Weija plant may not be exactly wholesome. Thank you for making time. My name is Israel Lai, and Joy News Prime is available across Europe on ABN Television. Please stay tuned. Government has been accused of not showing enough commitment to recovering over 1.2 billion cedis in soft loans granted service providers under the defunct Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, JEDA. This was after it emerged at Monday's sitting of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee that some of the beneficiaries of the interest-free loans were yet to pay back. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Marietta Buapiah-Opong, appeared before the committee.
Honourable Minister, what our colleague is trying to ask, it doesn't look like we have answered very adequately. He says we were talking about lack of legislation. There wasn't legislation. There wasn't legislation. What he's saying is that the Constitution was in place. The Financial Administration Act was in place. The Procurement Act was in place. And yet, we see these enormous infractions.
Though companies like RLG and Azontaba Cottage Industries have paid money owed the state, they fell short in paying the required interest. The AG is also yet to get prosecution of persons alleged to have taken money illegally under JEDA. The issue took center stage at the park sitting on Monday. According to the Attorney General, RLG, Azontaba Cottage Industries, Craft Pro Limited, Zero Group of Companies, Diogiwu Agricultural Training Center and New Vision won separate contracts running into nearly 1 billion Ghana cedis to undertake various training modules and employment under JEDA, but only RLG and Azontaba have paid an amount of 7.8 million Ghana cedis and 45 million cedis respectively taken from government.
A sum of 300,000 Ghana cedis was given to CDP as an interest-free loan, and this was captured in the Auditor General's report. Now, from the documentation that has subsequently been supplied to us by YEA, an amount of 673,000 Ghana cedis was owed to CDP. Now, this interest-free loan has been offset against this amount, and so CDP no longer owes YEA. Asibit and Honorable Abugapele, the prosecution has closed this case. A submission of no case was dismissed by the court. An application for stay of proceedings before the High Court was dismissed. There's currently another application pending before the Court of Appeal, which has not yet been heard. But
the rest are yet to settle their indebtedness to the state. While some of the companies are contesting the audit findings against them, the rest are asking for more time to pay back the interest-free loan. Responding to the issues before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, the Attorney General says government wants to exhaust the legal processes in getting the monies back.
Due process has to be followed. I mean, there's no way we can rush this case. These are people's rights, and people could be imprisoned if they are found guilty. And therefore, even though it might seem to you that there is a delay, All we are doing is following due process and making sure that people get the hearing that they are entitled to. Mr. Chairman.
Now, parliamentary correspondent Elton John Brobe has been speaking to a member of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, Isaac Esiama, who is of the opinion government is simply not interested in retrieving the monies.
Unfortunate. You see, when you look at the response, it is not the best of responses at all. Clearly, it demonstrates that we are not serious at retrieving the stolen funds. A whopping amount of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis in Jide's scandal, only the report and what is captured here and the Auditor General's report, and also the Ministerial Committee of Inquiry that the ministry itself set it up. Clearly, a whopping sum of about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis is unaccounted for, stolen. And if like the efforts being made, it's very little. The efforts being made is very little. It clearly shows that the government is not serious. It's not committed to retrieving the stolen funds.
But clearly, you can tell from the Justice Minister's response to the Public Accounts Committee that some work has been done. For example, if you look at RLG, the total indebtedness was 7.8 million Ghana cedis. Payment to date so far is 7.8 million Ghana cedis. Azon Cottage Industries, 45 million. They've paid all. Even though in the same report it's talking about the fact that they were supposed to pay an interest of 22%, but ended up paying 15%. So some work has been done.
That's why we've asked the question for verification of those amounts being quoted. We are told that it's been paid into Yoko's account, so it's not yet gone into the consolidated account. So it is when it goes to that it can be conclusive. We don't even have that fact. But be as it may, this amount, for example, so you mean somebody takes 7 million Ghana cedis 4 years ago and today he pays the same amount and we are satisfied? At what interest? So those are the issues. So you see, when you do that, all that you are attempting to portray to Ghanaians is that you are interested in promoting corruption at the highest level. Because then you give money to me, 50 million Ghana cedis, I go and work with it the next 5 years. I bring the same amount. That's the issue. So at what interest rate are they retrieving those funds? Clearly, my brother, it's obvious the whole thing is so smelly, it doesn't speak well of government. Government should let us know that at what interest is he collecting this amount. And the figure,
according to this report, they were to pay 22%, but ended up paying 15%.
Quoted 7 million Ghana cedis, and the other amount is how much? What?
45 million Ghana cedis.
So let me put it maybe put together 60 million Ghana cedis. The amount in question is 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. At the time, overall, at the time it was about $1.2 billion. At the time when it happened, 2012. It was about $1.2 billion. So if today you make an effort to retrieve maybe 100 million Ghana cedis, what is the percentage?
Employment and Labour Relations Minister Haruna Iddrisu, meanwhile, says joint new steps have been taken to ensure value for money under the new agency established to replace the now defunct JEDA. Parliament last year approved the establishment of the Youth Employment Agency.
Money goes into service charges against what beneficiary allowances should be. Like in the past, you could have a situation where a service provider got 400 or 500 or 600 from government in respect of a beneficiary, but ended up on the basis of his cost and bank borrowing to return less than just 100 Ghana to the beneficiary. Now, 65% of the dedicated amount of Youth Employment Agency accruing from Communication Service Tax, District Assembly Common Fund, and the GET Fund will be dedicated to payment of beneficiary allowances on a dedicated billed payroll system. And the new policy directive is that each beneficiary should earn 250 Ghana cedis as allowance, and 50 goes into the Provident Fund that when he's exiting, he can go home after the 2 years with the accumulation of the 50. That's the policy directive we've received from high authority. The other is in respect of collaboration. For instance, if they want to roll out youth in afforestation, the most appropriate institution, they should do it with the Forestry Commission. You want to roll out community teaching assistant, you should do it with the Ghana Education Service under the Ministry of Education. You want to roll out health assistant training program, you do it with the Ghana Health Service under the Ministry of Health. So you would see in the coming weeks, months, and years, that a certain amount of the Youth Employment Accrued Fund will go to support public institutions that are dedicated to building skills, like the National Vocational Training Institute, the National Youth Authority, but the training institutions under the National Youth Authority are also responsible for skills. I mean, we've often left out a category of young people, those into masonry, carpentry, fabrication, hairdressing. Our young people, if they are trained and supported, can earn a living with that, and we expect that we'll do this model as a collaborative initiative of the Youth Employment Agency.
When is it starting? The 100,000 people that are expected to be employed?
It is ongoing. I think already we've exceeded or close to 25,000. The health assistant will look at 20,000 young people. MVTI should be training some 6,000 to 10,000 persons, and youth enterprise support, which will focus primarily on entrepreneurship. Young entrepreneurs who want startup capital to start some businesses would also get some support. I've accordingly requested that 5 million Ghana cedis be dedicated to the Youth Enterprise Support Initiative.
The Ghana Water Company has downplayed suggestions that water from its water treatment plant is impure and unsafe for consumption. Speaking on NewsDesk earlier, Director of Communications for the company, Stanley Mate, said a report by the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research claiming that the treated water from Wager still had elements of algae was not true, adding that the water company had done more than enough to ensure the water it provides for consumers is safe for consumption.
That is wrong. It's not right. But then I would want that we put the discussion in context. Okay. Now, the research was done at our water treatment plant and the Tensu River. Now, we all know that the Tensu River is polluted, and for a very long time, we have been working on reducing the pollution of the river body. So we've done a lot of work in that area with the Water Resource Commission and other NGOs and all that, so that we could reduce the levels of pollution. So we are aware that the raw water is polluted, and we are aware that there's algae. Even if you look at the raw water with your naked eye, you will see that there's algae in the water. So we are aware about that. But then we also know of the dangers that algae poses to the human body. So as Ghana Water Company Limited, we have been doing everything possible to make sure that these things are kept. On Joy FM this morning, I made mention of the fact that we use activated carbon and other chemicals in taking care of the algae and other toxins. And the lady who did the research attested to the fact that yes, activated carbon, aside using it for other things, also is used in curbing this the presence of algae and other toxins. So she confirms the fact that we are doing the right thing. Now, the processes for treatment of water has been changing over a very long time. For instance, the way we used to treat water in the 1920s is different from how we treat water. When they do some of these researches, or on regular basis, the CSIR does research by their consultants, and then they put it out via a workshop. So we present at workshops. Now, it is one of these workshops that happened in April, where on the sidelines the media interviewed him, and then it came up that there are some toxins in the raw water at Wager as a result of the research that they did in 2008.
But Director of Research at the CSIR, Dr. Joseph Addo-Ampofo, insists continuous consumption of water from the Wager treatment plant will lead to long-term complications that may cause kidney problems and nervous reactions. He maintains that data they have from last year suggests that water from Wager is still not safe for consumption.
We've realized that it has passed the limit, the minimum limit, 1 milligram per liter of the toxin, and that is why we are calling on all stakeholders to step up, including Ghana Water Company and then Water Resource Commission, and then the society. Since people are adding more waste into the water, they are adding fertilizer, waste to other waste products from homes and from industry. So the water is becoming more green, the Wager water. And the more green, the more algae and the more agar toxin. But the treatment plant we are using was not designed to remove the agar toxin, and that's why we are calling on water company to ask Water Resource Commission to stop people from polluting the water. This year we did for the algae, which produces the toxin. You see, there are two things. You check the agar level, and then you check the toxin. If the algae is increasing, the toxin increases. The last time we did the toxin was 2011, and it was 0.9. But now the algae has doubled, which means agar toxin will go up. It started about 6 years now.
You started when?
About 6 years now.
6 years?
Yes, every year. You have long-term effect, one on kidney.
Kidney?
Kidney. You can also have on liver. You see, all these filter the blood, and then you can have nervous reactions too. You can have diarrhea effect.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We have more stories coming up after this break. Please stay tuned. Sixteen police chiefs have been transferred with immediate effect as the IGP makes his third round of changes since he was appointed 7 months ago. The transfer of the Accra Region Police Commander COP George Ekufu Dampare, who was appointed 6 months ago, has been viewed with quite a bit of surprise. He's heading to the Ghana Police Command and Staff College at Winneba and hands over to ACP Timothy Donga Yosa. DCOP Yage Akureba, who was the Central Region Police Commander, has been transferred to the Western Region as the new commander. DCOP David Nyenyi Ampabeni of the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau is swapping places with DCOP Osaberema Oware Asare Pinkro II, who was Director General in charge of special duties. The IGP has also appointed a replacement for the Eastern Regional Police Commander, DCOP Amubutogi Awuni, who passed away in March. Volta Regional Police Commander DCOP Peter King Yentumijinai moves to the Eastern Region. The changes come less than 7 months to the general elections in November. This is the third wave of transfers. The IGP made as many as 29 changes at the top hierarchy of the service within 20 days of its appointment on November 9, 2015. Meanwhile, a former police chief, DCOP Kweku Ayenso Pariado, says it is normal for the Inspector General of Police to transfer any officer depending on the intelligence he has and in the interest of the force. The retired police officer who was a former Accra Region commander was speaking on the polls earlier.
Dampare is the well-known scholar in the Ghana system, and if he had been posted to the Ghana Police Command and Staff College earlier, it wouldn't have created any suspicion whatsoever. That is why I'm saying that. But as for transfers, can be done at any time in the Ghana Police Service. For example, I know of a case of a detective who has 3 years to go home, but has now been transferred to a point where he is ill, he cannot even work there, but he's sent there. And I've heard of this, and I think it's not the best. What I'm saying is that nobody knows the motivation of the Inspector General. What made him send him to the Ghana Police Command and Staff College? It is his prerogative, so he has every right to do it, and he's done it. And nobody can challenge him for doing that.
An initiative to help tackle the threat posed by drug trafficking and organized crime in Ghana and the West African sub-region has been launched in Accra. The Technical Assistance Project aims to provide comprehensive support to drug law enforcement units of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service and sister law enforcement agencies over a period of 2 years.
The project seeks to improve the drug crime investigation, intelligence gathering, and detection by building capacity of drug law enforcement units and many others. The Minister of Interior, Prosper Bani, who represented the Vice President, said it has become necessary to equip the security agencies because of the terrorist attacks in neighboring countries.
the global nature of the world today means that whatever criminal activity is perpetrated in one location has detrimental effects on another. If your neighbor's house is on fire, you need to prepare for the eventuality. For us, we only need to look at the attacks on our immediate neighbors, Mali, Burkina Faso, and recently Cote d'Ivoire, to more than heed the glaring signals that we should be on maximum alert.
The Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department, COP Prosper Agbo, also stressed on the benefits of the project for the security agencies.
The emerging trend of terrorism. It is imperative, therefore, that law enforcement agencies continually train their personnel and adequately resource them to ensure effective and efficient performance of their duties. The continuing scourge of drug trafficking in West Africa and the sophisticated nature of operations of drug cartels and other organized criminal groups have become a matter of great concern to law enforcement agencies.
COP Rosebio Atinga, who represented the IGP, said all countries have become susceptible to threats or victimization of organized crime, hence the need for support.
Organized crime is growing with sophistication and complexity, which poses great threat to security and challenge to law enforcement. Drug trafficking and organized crime in various forms, like trafficking in persons and arms, piracy, kidnapping, money laundering, and terrorism are taking daring trends. Criminal groups are becoming more organized and well-resourced. It is more imperative for us in law enforcement to be more organized and equipped adequately to deal effectively with the challenges of drug trafficking, organized crime, and terrorism.
The U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Robert Porter Jackson, who also represented the U.S. government, one of the major sponsors of the project, expressed his optimism about the initiative.
Thank you very much.
And a related development, the Executive Secretary of the Narcotics Control Board, Akwesi Sapong, says the human integrity governance in the security agencies, if not addressed, will nullify all the efforts to eradicate corruption. He was speaking at the launch of the technical assistance to counter drug trafficking and organized crime at the police headquarters in Accra.
The Executive Secretary noted that the issue of integrity has become critical in the fight against crime. Mr. Sapong says if the phenomenon is tackled, it will bring back public confidence and also improve professionalism in the security agencies, especially in their line of duty.
My major concern is the integrity governance within law enforcement, and that each time there's a package, whilst we congratulate our partners, there seems to be a missing link. The issue about the human integrity factor. It's so critical to law enforcement that each time there is big news about the escape of a prisoner, about corruption, it's not so much about corruption. The discourse ought not to be corruption. The discourse ought to be integrity governance, not corruption. Because corruption is a consequence of the lack of integrity governance. And to overemphasize corruption is to beg the question. And I think that it is very important. That is why, for example, in NACO, we have in our employment list that members, our staff can undergo integrity tests anywhere, any day.
The Executive Secretary of NACOP also charged the Ghana Police Service to establish a narcotic wing with officers in all the districts to help improve the system.
And I would urge the police and institution, not now but even into the future, to begin to think not only about a marine police unit, but to begin to think of a dedicated narcotic police in Ghana, where you enter and you don't go out again. You serve there from constable to commissioner. It is extremely important because it is a very risky area. And if there are other juicy areas apart from drug law enforcement, everybody will not want to stay in drug law enforcement forever. But then you lose credit, you lose skill, you lose experience, and you lose dedication. Because if the drug law enforcement agency thing is in the regional capital, Koforidua, the farms are in the middle of nowhere. And these are things that I would like to add here that I'm so happy that the police drug law enforcement unit now has $1 million from the American government.
Mr. Sapon was grateful to the donor partners.
All right, time for business now. And coming up in business, the new governor of the central bank, Dr. Nasiru Issahaku, has been chairing his first Monetary Policy Committee meeting, and Emmanuel Abadjiri is here to give us the details of that. Well, the headline that's coming out of that is that the policy rate has been maintained.
Exactly, 26%. It means no change whatsoever in the cost of credit, accessing credit from the commercial banks. You know, one significant thing, the new governor sort of broke protocol because he actually relaxed the atmosphere.
Okay.
You know, and he's kind of relaxing because for the first time he actually stood to do his presentation way back from the other governors who normally sit down.
I want to think that this one is a lot younger. He wants to show that he's, you know, really young.
Yes, and of course maybe he's up to his toes to do the right thing, maybe.
Well, let's see how it goes.
So the first time he tries to maintain the policy rates, and people are quite skeptical, but also some people are also happy about it.
Let's see how it goes. You bring us the
Thank
details.
you very much, and thanks for joining me on Business. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has maintained the policy rate at 26%. The decision was attributed to the stability in the currency and current inflationary trends. This is the third time that the policy rate has been maintained since January this year. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Abdul Nasiru Issahaku, announced the new rate at a media briefing in Accra. The Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which was the first to be chaired by the new governor, witnessed the introduction of some new trends. For the first time, Dr. Abdul Nasiru Issahaku stood behind a lectern for the entire presentation, a reversal of the normal sitting position by previous governors. Dr. Issahaku also explained the reasons behind maintaining the policy rate at 26%.
The tight monetary stance that we are pursuing, coupled with fiscal consolidation, largely responsible for the stability we are seeing. Of course, there's been improved liquidity in the market. The first quarter of this year, we got additional forex from the cobalt sources. There's improved confidence because of the stability that we are seeing now. That has dampened speculative transactions in the currency. So all of this is contributing.
According to him, the decision was taken in order not to be overtaken by events. On the stability of the Ghana cedi, the central bank boss attributed it to prudent measures introduced by the regulator instead of speculations of reduced demand for foreign currencies. Dr. Issahaku then touched on government's decision to invest $250 million proceeds from the Eurobond in the United Bank for Africa. He stressed that the Finance Ministry acted within the confines of the law. Meanwhile, some economists and financial experts have been speaking about the central bank's decision to maintain the rate at 26% for the third consecutive time. An investment analyst, Samson Akligo, shared his thoughts on Business Live on Joy News.
The announcement of the new policy rate by the Monetary Policy of the Bank of Ghana was described as appropriate as inflation levels remain above the medium-term target band. Prior to the announcement, the Ghana Statistical Service had pegged the year-on-year inflation rate for April at 18.7%, down from the 19.2% recorded in March. According to Dr. Issahaku, the central bank will be able to attain its inflation target of 8% plus or minus 2 by the end of 2017. Sharing his thoughts on the new rate, an investment analyst who is also the managing director of Investcorp, Samson Akligo, highlighted some factors that may have led to the maintenance of the policy rate.
This decision really is a macro stability decision, and the whole idea is that the central bank wants to ensure that they maintain stability, taking into account development in a growth outlook, and of course making sure that asset prices, including currency, is stable. And for example, I mentioned inflation. What inflation does is that, remember, it erodes purchasing power. It affects pension income that pensioners receive. It also affects returns that investors earn. So when you have inflation going up, it is important that you compensate investors for that if you want to encourage them to hold especially city assets. So in doing that, I mean, you will not go back to say that in the event that inflation, the outlook for inflation shows that there's a risk, then you're going to reduce interest rates. No, if you do that, you're not compensating investors for holding asset prices and ensuring that we have stability in the financial market.
He also expressed fears that the rate might still go up as the election draws closer with its accompanying excessive expenditure.
In a lot of countries, election years, you know, because of the electionary campaign, political parties have even the process of every campaign puts a lot of money, stimulus into the economy. If the central bank is having an idea that is going to lead to inflation, yes, then of course, again, the role of the central bank is to stabilize the economy on an ongoing basis. So they'll be forced to take those measures that are important in mobilizing that liquidity. But if the evidence is that this election period liquidity is going to cause a bit more of monetary expansion that really will influence inflation, I'm sorry, but the central bank will be forced to increase the interest rates, and that means that interest rates would go up.
The next Monetary Policy Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, July 15th, 2016.
Away from the central bank, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has kicked against plans by government to merge the operations of Tema Oil Refinery and the bulk oil storage and transportation company BOST. The center believes this has the potential to collapse the refinery and marketing of petroleum products in Ghana. Government last year announced plans to merge the two institutions as part of efforts to revamp the once vibrant national oil refinery. The plan would allow BOST to supply TOR with crude oil, while TOR would in turn sell to BOST after refining. Executive Director of the Center, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, tells Joy Business the deal, if pursued, will not be in the interest of the economy.
TOR has a strategic role to play to refine products, but TOR does not operate as a retailer. Okay? This is why we have OMCs. And thereby, in order for us to inject competition, you have several OMCs because of the deregulated regime that we have. If TOR is going to now become a trader on our domestic market, then we are going to kill all the OMCs. Now, how is TOR going to do this? TOR is now becoming consolidated with BOST. So BOST brings in crude, and TOR will refine the crude for BOST. What does BOST do with that crude? BOST is supposed to keep strategic reserves for us. It is not supposed to trade. But BOST is forcing, OMCs to take, refined product from it. And so by doing that, you are killing the downstream petroleum industry.
That was Mohammed Amin Adam, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Now, telecom giant MTN says it has been able to cover about 70% of Greater Accra and other major cities for its 4G rollout. MTN last year secured the license to roll out high-speed internet connectivity for its subscribers. Chief Executive Officer of the company, Ebenezer Chumasanti, tells Joy Business they are making sure that the entire country is covered before the commercial rollout, possibly from June.
Forging is good news. We promised the commercial launch by June, July, and we still stand by that. We've done the soft launch effective end of April. So today, more than 70% of Accra has forging coverage. And all the regional capitals have forging coverage. Most of the key commercial areas outside of the regional capitals also have forging coverage. For now, we say June, July. It could even be earlier. But
why the need to change your SIM card?
That is the requirement of the technology. The SIM card in your phone can operate up to 3G. So for your phone, if your phone is 4G compatible, your phone can only read and pick the 4G signal when it has a 4G SIM.
All right, so it's a Monday evening, and as usual, the markets began today. John is here. John, how did the commodities fare? Oil in the first place, did it go up?
Oil is actually moving at a rate I actually don't understand. Currently, oil almost gained, it's almost about 48.95. Okay. I would not be surprised by the time I leave this particular studio, oil will hit $49 per barrel.
Because the mercantile market is still
it's still where it's still on. I think it's got numbers about 4 hours to actually close. So it's still on. It's likely oil may hit $49 per barrel. But let's start with the Ghana Stock Exchange, where the exchange actually began the day on a very low key, very, very low key, after it traded almost about 77,619 in terms of volume. I mean, that's against last Friday's 29,000, very low key, and at a value of 22,623. Very, very low. But then, last week we did see some significant movement of some equities as a result of some bulk trader actually went on in there. But this particular one cannot be compared. But let's say it's a Monday. After that, market capitalization just dropped marginally to about 54,182,087,000 Ghana cedis. The market keeps dropping value over time. So that's also consistently been declining. And also look at this. The financial index is actually dropped now to about 12.29%. You understand? Last Friday was 11.90, now it's 12.29. Consistently actually declining. So people are losing value on the exchange. Now, I did tell you for a fact that one of the reasons why they do that is just interest rate hikes in the country. People find reasons and options to move their money from the capital market to the money market. That's exactly what is happening currently on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And then EGH, the only mover on the market, it lost 10 pesos to be trading or to close around 6 Ghana cedis, 69 pesos. That's exactly how the market actually did. Liquidity on the market very low, activity level very low. Almost in every respect, the market did not record that good performance that it's actually noted for actually doing. So, and now back to the commodities. And as I indicated earlier, crude oil is actually trading 48.95, just about 5 pence, and it's, of course, it will hit almost about 49. Quite significant, because the point last week somewhere, the beginning almost around last week, it was around 44, if you remember, 44. Around 44.
Yeah,
dropping from 47 to 44, and now it's actually been able to recover itself to about 48. Let's see how it maintains the momentum very soon. And there are lots of demand pressure on oil, even though some are saying that that reserve that was there last year is gradually dwindling. And it's actually the fresh ones that are coming onto the market, which is calculated to meet demand. So naturally, you will see the tendency for this price to actually go up very high. Now, they don't have that backlog of supply in the system, so it's likely it may go up. After gaining $1.12, that's exactly how it is. And gold also gained some 59 cents to be trading around 1,273. Quite significant. It's been very impressive over the period. Sustained increment, even though marginal, over the period. So that's how gold is also performing. But cocoa also did lost. So Ghana's interest in there also, lost there. But then, now let's look at the US dollar. Today, Dr. Ishaku actually read something for us. It didn't change anything, but the dollar against the cedi decided to change after it smiled very well on there. So that's exactly how it is. So the dollar is actually trading almost about 3 Ghana cedis 81. You get $1 for yourself. But the gain against the British pound, gains against the euro, gains against the Chinese yuan, and of course the CFA as well. So still the cedi has some strength against the major trading currencies, but we're expecting that this will be sustained, especially as some of the, the policy rate is also being sustained. We hope to see better, performance of the CD against the major trading.
Thank you very much,
Exactly.
John.
You're welcome.
So for more market analysis, you can join John on the marketplace tomorrow for some interesting developments on the African and international markets. And that wraps up the business for tonight. Thanks so much for your company. My name is Emmanuel Apuachi. Good evening.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime after the business news. Now, a media monitoring report released by the Media Foundation for West Africa found members of the New Patriotic Party used more abusive language on radio than any other party. The report, based on the monitoring of 516 programs on 40 radio stations for the period April 18 to 30 this year, names political parties whose officials, affiliates and supporters use abusive language, individuals and radio presenters who used abusive language, and radio stations on which the indecent expressions were used. It is the first of several media monitoring reports to be issued by the MFWA before, during and after the 2016 general elections.
Project, which will be expanded to cover 70 radio stations across the country by July 2016, is expected to keep politicians on their toes with the ultimate aim of sanitizing the political atmosphere for peaceful elections. The New Patriotic Party topped the log with 27 recorded incidents of unsavory utterances, followed by the ruling NDC with 16 incidents. Executive Director of Media Foundation for West Africa explained the criteria used.
We do look at what are the stations that are the most influential, on which when people say something, it goes that far. What are the stations located in areas that people would designate as violence prone, for which reason if something is said on that station, it could potentially lead to something that we all don't want. So these are the benchmarks that we've used to select the 40 and ultimately the 70 that we'll be monitoring. And we're hoping that as we do it, stations that are not even part of the monitoring may advise themselves.
He also describes as unacceptable how political parties cloud the media with unsavory utterances during elections and said the campaign is aimed at getting politicians to campaign on issues, not insults.
It's unfortunate that we are in a country where elections, which are just about determining who should be our leaders, president and parliamentarians, always turn out to be something that puts the nation on the brink. I don't see why we should always get ourselves in that. But so long as we are into that, we would have to continue to make our separate contributions. The media have a big role to play. If the media hold the politicians accountable, if the media really push the politicians to focus on issues rather than insults, we'll be getting the kind of democracy that we want.
In all, a total of 87 incidents of indecent expressions were recorded on 18 out of the 40 radio stations monitored.
Now, NPP flag bearer Nana Akufo-Addo has disclosed the party's message for the November elections will focus on job creation. In the last 4 years, the central theme of the party's campaign was education. Nana Addo was campaigning in the Greater Accra region.
I was born and bred in Accra, Swalaba, Baramanachim. The beautiful lady here is my wife. My roots can be traced here. This year's election determines who is going to run the affairs of this country. If you are comfortable with the current economic environment and would want to retain President Mahama, go ahead and do so. On the other hand, if you yearn for change, then it is me, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that you should vote for. Looking at the current economic situation, I believe you yearn for change.
prepaid anya ape.
Right, Kwachi Afrenium of our political desk, he joins me live here in the studio with more. Now, Kwachi, you have been with Nana Akufo-Addo on his campaign of the Greater Accra region. Which areas has he been to today?
And today he was simply in the Ladade-Kotopong constituency. That's where he focused on today. And specifically, he was at the Labadi area. And strategically, according to his campaign aides and officials of the MPP, Nana Addo focused on leisure centers, recreational centers, because the party believes that this is where you have a number of the youth in the constituency, particularly those who are unemployed, during the daytime. They go there to, while away time. And while there, he preached the party's main message. And in 2012, Israel, the MPP's main message was about free senior high school education. Nana Akufo-Addo was asked a question going into the 2016 election, what will be their main, message. And he says this time around it will be on job creation, simply because moving around the country after he was elected flag bearer, he gets the sense and a clear indication that that is a main worry of many Ghanaians, particularly the youth. But this also settles the debate and the criticism from their opponents that the MPP has no message at all. In fact, this question has been asked many times. You've heard officials of the NDC say that the MPP does not have a message, but Nana Addo has settled that debate now. He says that it's about job creation going to this crucial election.
Okay, so what's the plan for the campaign going forward?
From now till Wednesday, it continues tomorrow. Nana Akufo-Addo will be in the Trobo constituency. Wednesday as well, he will also focus on Accra. We know that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is also outside the capital campaigning. Nana Akufo-Addo will leave Accra to the Volta region to continue his tour. Of course, that's one area that the party is hoping to make inroads, looking at the fact that it's the World Bank, quote unquote, of the NDC.
All right, thank you very much, Kwachi Afrenium, bringing us up to speed on the MPP's campaign. Now, in a statement issued in Accra Monday, the MPP stated that previous allegations of dubious deals involving Mr. Mahama as vice president have not been properly investigated. The statement also goes on to cite 6 deals. The sole-sourced national single-window contract for West Blue, the 3.6 million cedi Smarties badge branding scandal, the $88 million Embraer jet scandal, the $10 billion STX scandal, $600 million worth of contracts with Shady, Keros, Gavao, and the secret illegal lodging of $250 million in UBA. Now, the statement went on to elaborate on the sole source national single window contract for West Blue, stating that the president, through a letter signed by his chief of staff, Julius Debra, personally and instructed the Minister of Finance to formally engage West Blue Ghana Limited without any competitive tender. It says, by directing his Minister of Finance to give the contract to a particular company, the president, by his own logic, had put himself in a position to be offered and receive a bribe. The NDC's Deputy General Secretary, Koko Nyedaho, in an interview with Evans Mensah, however, disagrees.
Now, the president also last week said that the way he handles the issue so that he's absolved of any claim of corruption is that he doesn't involve himself in procurement, allows the technical people to deal with it. But the MPP has a letter signed by Julius Debra, the chief of staff in the West Blue matter, which says, quote, I refer to this officer's letter to you dated 9th April. The said letter conveyed to you His Excellency the President's acceptance in entirety the recommendations of the Ministry of Finance on the way forward for the establishment of the National Single Window Project. In pursuant to His Excellency the President's decision, you are directed to formally engage West Blue Ghana Limited to undertake the following services. That is the President putting himself squarely in the midst of a procurement matter.
And that amounts to corruption. And that amounts
does it not?
That amounts to corruption, Evans.
that amounts to corruption. So the chief of staff has written a letter.
We are using the president's own assessment of what constitutes corruption. He says the way to deal with it is to simply stay away from the process of awarding any contract and let the technical people deal with it. But this flies in the face of what he told us.
Certainly not. Certainly not. You have a government that has a manifesto to pledge to execute. And the fact that the president has not signed letters personally does not mean the president has no direction in the growth trajectory of this country.
Is the president a technical person? Is he in a position to determine if West Blue is qualified or not? For him to be directing that they be giving the contract?
Evans, in all humility, I sat in cabinet for 4 years. You need to be there. Nana Kumia sat in cabinet, I'm sure, also for 4 years. You need to be there asking whether President Kufuor didn't give directives as President of the Republic based on his best judgment. If those best judgments turn out to be wrong, fine.
Watching Joy News Prime now, the NDC's Deputy General Secretary challenged the New Patriotic Party to go to court if they suspect any wrongdoing. Now, founder of the Progressive People's Party and president of Group Indom, Dr. Papa Kwesi Indom, has refuted claims by President Mahama that Ghana's economy is resilient. In an exclusive interview with Joy News' Francis Aban, Dr. Indom said monitoring all sectors of his business, from hotel to quarrying, reveal that the prevailing environment is working against businesses. He told Joy News President Mahama does not understand the situation because he is not a businessman. He rather commended the Ghanaian for being resilient to withstand the harsh economic conditions.
The economy has been terrible for business, but Ghanaians have proven resilient. So it's not the economy that's resilient. It's the Ghanaian spirit that in many areas, in spite of high, very, very, very high levels of taxes, in spite of very high levels of interest rates, utility pricing, and all of those kinds of things, in spite of all of that, and especially in spite of the difficulties that government institutions place in the way of business people, Ghanaian people still persist. They still want to be in business. They still want to do business, and they're still investing their monies. This today, I've had visits from at least 4 different people who are in business, who are telling their stories of difficulties here and there. But in the end, none of them is wanting to quit. They are all looking for a way so they can ride the wave and hope that at the end of all these difficulties, maybe in a year, 2, 3, or whatever years, something good might happen. So, no, the difficulty has been with the economy. If the president is thinking that something wonderful is happening, maybe he does not know and doesn't understand because he's not a business owner. What he gets at the end of the month does not depend on some customer deciding that I want the goods you're selling or the services that you're selling. So he doesn't know. But those who are in the know, they understand that this is and has been a difficult environment, but there's a resilient spirit. There's a good Ghanaian spirit.
What has government done wrong in handling Ghana's economy?
Well, what has government done right? That should be the question. Okay, because anywhere you look, if I want to get a permit, if I want to get a license to do anything, you name it, a mining concession, wanting to drill for oil and gas, a banking license, anything, get a license for television. Everything comes with a difficulty. Okay, so even that one, there's a problem. Registering a business, there's a problem. Buying land, there's a problem. And then you get into the environment itself. Whatever you decide to do, somebody has a better idea that let me go to China, to America, to Japan, or somewhere to find something cheaper to come and sell that would be in competition with what is it that you are doing that is employing Ghanaians. So there are difficulties. Inflation is high. Taxes are high. We have a business in all of our businesses. We run a quarry business. We run a manufacturing enterprise. The hotel business. All of them will tell you that their utility costs for electricity and that sort of thing has, in some cases, more than tripled since December.
Now, a surging human anatomy specialist is suggesting the Electoral Commission adopt a system where suspected minors seeking to be registered as voters will be made to produce an X-ray of their leg bone to confirm their age. Dr. Archibald Frederick Mackenzie Bedu explains that at age 18, the lower end of the leg bone, known as the tibia, would have transformed from cartilage into a complete bone. Dr. Badu, who is a fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons, Edinburgh, notes that persons whose X-ray shows cartilage at the lower end of the tibia cannot possibly be 18 years. The chief executive of Mackenzie Hospital in Kumasi spoke with Love News.
If we take the tibia, for instance, which is the main bone in the leg, at birth there is hardly any ossification center in the lower end. At first it is in the form of a cartilage, but with the passage of time this becomes a solid bone. By the time the child is 17 years, it is completely ossified. So if a child should come to the registration center claiming that he is 18 years old and a simple X-ray is taken of this, we can say almost with certainty that if that part is completely ossified, then we'll have no doubts in our minds. If it is not ossified, then it will raise an eyebrow.
Right, up next we bring you entertainment. Right, so guess who's back? Miss G,
I'm here.
Welcome. You've been away for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm back. This time around, you know, I go there, your body like skin tight.
You're looking different.
Oh, am I? Oh, it's good to look different.
It's your hairstyle.
Hey, how have you been?
I've been good.
I see.
I've been good.
I see.
Missed you though.
Mr. Easy.
No
you know
doubt.
Mr. Easy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're
the guy
Easy.
who's been signed on by
Hey, Charlie, you have fila.
Oh, I mean,
you know my favorite song of his?
No.
Skin Tight.
Okay.
So yeah, so like that's what I'm telling you. I go there, your body like skin tight.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm back here.
That'll work out.
Today by you know.
That'll work out.
Anyway, so the famous Hammermax dress for the VGMAs. I'm sure you're familiar with the story.
Which she apologized for, and maybe Air Force said she didn't have apologized.
And you know who else was worded into the fray?
No.
Our own Manasseh.
Oh.
But that's a story for another day. I won't tell you about that today. Okay, so Mahamat says that, look, I'm going to thrive on this controversy and make some money for myself because I need to build a library in Bongo where I come from.
Okay, make money for herself or rather make money for her project.
Okay, so make money for her project, but the money still hers, you know. The dress is hers.
For charity.
Well, she's been explaining what exactly happened that day and also telling us that the dress is up for auction.
What happened was I had a wardrobe mishap. You know, the dress had some cowries on the side and it draped to the down there, and I had to fix it to the bottom of the dress. But when I got there, that had come off. So I refused to take pictures anywhere or with anyone. But one of the organizers of the event, you know, came to me and said, "Oh, can you please take one picture in front of here?" So I stand there for 2 minutes, you know, and like in modeling, you have to try different poses. And I go back to the auditorium, and before I was called, I was looking through my Instagram and I saw this picture, and I'm like, why amongst all the pictures this was the one you took? Because I have better pictures even on my Instagram. And I had to apologize for the way I was presented, because that was not my intention when I was wearing that dress. And I have 2 daughters, like I say, who look up to me, and I apologize for them. You know, I put the dress up on auction, and now it's up to $1,220, and that money will be put into my library project in Bongo. There's no library in Bongo, and I really want to build one. And so when the dress had all the headlines, I'm like, why not sell it and then make some money and help my project? Yeah.
All right, so one of the other controversies that's coming out of this interview is the fact she says she has 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And she's proud of how she
has breastfed her 2 daughters, and people are wondering, I mean...
Did you really breastfeed them?
Did you really breastfeed them?
Oh, we have breast pumps, you know, so
yeah,
she could have extracted breast milk from them.
If you extracted breast milk from this breast to, you know...
to feed two children. You don't have to have it that way.
They ain't gonna be
We do a lot
like
of magic these days, you know, so maybe that was part of the magic you don't know about, you know. Anyway, so... The Ghana Music Award team, that's Charterhouse, had their photographer, Akibot Impressions, take this picture.
Right.
That's the controversial picture. Now, you wonder what the organizers have to say, because it's your photographer who went out there, you assigned the person. Now, she has been accused of maligning someone's character. Why don't you come speak for her? What do you have to say to the issue? Nia Aite Hammond is the board chair of Charterhouse.
You know, it's not everything that you respond to, basically.
No, but the photographer responded.
Yes, she responded because she took the picture, but Charterhouse didn't respond. It's not everything that you really need to respond.
But she was working for you?
Yes, she worked for us. And also, I mean, she's also a professional, just the same way Hamamat is a professional. So if Hamamat says something about her professional work, and she also thought that she needed to respond to it, I mean, that was what she did. But as a company, there was no reason to respond to it. We didn't think we needed to give it leg. If I heard Hamamat right this weekend, she's looking at using the situation to benefit a lot of others who are not financially sound, or, for want of a better expression, making the good out of any bad situation.
Even after she had accused the photographer, you don't think it's better she recalls her words and apologizes to the photographer?
No, I mean, accusing the photographer on an issue that she believes strongly could have been done differently is different from also taking advantage of the situation to achieve a positive response.
All right, so...
but I'd actually love to hear what the lady herself has to say.
No, you know, when Hamamat came initially to talk about it, she also responded that, of course, it was in no, you know, she had no intentions, exactly, but then she hasn't spoken to the issue again or responded to.
Right.
But that's her in the picture. She's called Ikuya Boateng, but she uses Akibot Impressions. That's the name of her company. Right. Okay, so... It's the political season. We're expecting a lot more celebrities to be rallying behind political parties and figures.
Like John Dumelo,
okay,
you know, rallying behind
the NDC, yes, exactly. And
apparently he was with him in London.
Oh, was he?
On the Accounting to the People tour.
Okay, I see. I never knew that one. Okay, you've got filler that I don't know.
Oh, Gifty Andor Pia actually took a shot with him.
Okay, I saw pictures of her as well on social media. Okay, so... Guess who this time around is throwing his weight behind Nana Akufo-Addo?
I would want to think that that person, maybe Krum.
No, this one, he's kicking Nana Akufo-Addo, so kick me. Why so greed?
Opportunity. No ma join your fair. Ya mi se wa ake mene nke Nanado onupa adenche ekpe mene chente de mu mane get chichi. In support the MPP because Kedebena for me and Ujino Papa support or no me for me. The war moon no say manye. The minute a woman and only no PMami. Mina nibi ni baona. Can it be ni Yakesike Ebamiao Ebawao? Biana game musician Jimmy Dana studio me tuni light in Gachoni, Kako light Inuchumano. Oh, yeah, Miss, I can see where Onupakoni, Bianca, Titi, I can see a banner attack in the Biao. The men believe love, and you're very, very sure. I can see not going to be a favor happy. The men are very, very sure, and me promising it. I can see Nana Akufo-Addo from 7th December. If I take over, I tell you, electricity, it gives me opportunity. Ubeti nipo, emamiyabo, anaju, anopa, ubeti nipo. Electricity, opportunity.
Okay, so Nanado can't rap.
No, but he tried. Electricity.
We can all say, but well, I'm curious about the decision to have this guy endorsed because I'm thinking he comes with some baggage, and it may worry them. But anyway, I mean, some of the things he said, I can briefly translate for you. Essentially, he was saying that his business is doing music, and he's unable to do music because of the tough economic environment. Essentially, that's about it. But he said he was grateful that he had met the NPP flag bearer, Nana Akufo-Addo, and he has actually, shook hands with him. He shook hands with him, and he's excited about that. And he's confident that come the 7th December, he's going to win the election, or 7th November is going to win the election. Essentially, that's what he had to say.
Beautiful one for Wiser Greed. We just hope that, it goes well for him, because a lot of people are saying,
but how about Telemo? Because they've been playing Telemo's Chrome.
You see how you're confusing nerds? They're two different songs.
Okay.
So which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're talking about Atom.
Atom's Yewokrum. The NPP has been playing that for a long time.
But he hasn't endorsed them yet, so we are waiting to see whether he will endorse them. He won the Hip Life Song of the Year with the song Yewokrum. And you know that song, over the months that he reigned, has been said to have been thriving on Gasmilla's Telemo.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Atom picked up the award for Hip Life Song of the Year at the just and recently held Ghana Music Award, he shouted out to...
He acknowledged...
Exactly, the first time ever since he began to use the song.
So for a long time, Gasmilla is going to be, how did... It slipped, because he would have actually won it, except that the timing of his release didn't quite help him.
Yeah, but he had some good things to say about, Atom picking up the Hip Life Song of the Year.
He got something.
Yes, he got an award. Gasmilla got an award for the developmental music of the year, which has actually become an honorary award. I know I told you that they had actually scrapped their award, and they said in subsequent years they'll make it honorary. Now, when I spoke to the board of the VGMAs now, Nia Iti Harmony said, well, you could say that the words failed them. They actually meant that, yes, going forward, not subsequent years. So it meant that even this year, that award was valid. That's how come Gasmilla picked the award for development. 5,000 Ghana cedis. Gasmilla thinks is too small an amount for the hard work he had to put in for the song Fali Fali, which brought about the cleanup campaign,
Right. That's okay. It's okay. I mean, at least he got something.
Anyway, so that'll be it for today. But tomorrow we'll talk about choices. You've got choices.
Everybody's got choices.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave you now.
Yeah.
And I'll come back when? Tomorrow, yeah?
Tomorrow.
Is it yeah?
Nope.
No, I'm coming back tomorrow. Anyway, so that'll be for entertainment. So I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Ms. G. It's always great to have you. Up next, we have Gary Al Smith with sports. Right, so it's time with Gary.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. It's time for sports, and Gary's here.
Yeah.
But time with Gary.
Yeah.
What's coming up in sports?
Well, tomorrow's game with Manchester United, we're not talking about that now because of what happened in the Premier League. But what happens is that DSP Freeman Tete is speaking. I mean, still on the bomb issue and the security issue, but we are localizing it. Yeah, he says that we don't have a lot of security arrangements here because people don't have money. Because at least policemen have to be paid and stuff like that.
So, I think the club's paying the...
Whatever arrangement there is, because it's not really the state's responsibility to, get the policemen to certain...
Well, it's the state's responsibility to ensure law and order.
Yes.
And to prevent the, outbreak of violence.
Sure, but sometimes they have to have private police security personnel to augment what the police can give, because sometimes there are so many events on a match day. It's not just the football match that's... Yeah.
What's best practice in the EPL? The police officers, right?
Yeah, but they have additional... Yesterday during the bomb threats, you saw that there were lots of stewards. That was what was, trained stewards who are trained by private security companies, and even the police, to augment the security arrangement. If it's very serious up to a certain level, then they bring in
police,
what they have to bring in.
All right. Okay, give us the rest.
Right. So, well, it's not exactly the UK's kind of security issues, but Ghana have our own. This weekend, we had some very, very unsavory pictures and incidents from across the ground. And can you believe that the hooliganism we saw happen in the National Women's League. Now, it was so bad that in Techiman, one of the players in the National Women's League called Sonia Opoku was beaten to almost a pulp, and we had pictures of her at the hospital where she was quite, prostrated and so on. And there were other incidents of hooliganism across the country. So DSP Freeman Tete spoke to us and gave us his opinion about why there isn't proper security arrangement.
The police. These are basically what we go through on daily basis at places that you can.
Is it a matter of inadequate numbers within the police service itself?
It's not about inadequate number.
Yeah.
It's about the requirement. Because if you require for the, sometimes they don't even tell us the truth. They don't tell us that, look, we are expecting this. It's not for free as well. So you ought to pay for our services.
Oh, I see.
So at the end of the day, they tend to ask for lower figures.
I see.
Sometimes we suggest that, look, we can fall on other security services, but they will tell you that they want this number of policemen to provide security. And you know the danger associated with such numbers. So you cannot entirely blame the police for everything.
Right, thank you very much. I almost said Mama Tundra, actually. Aisha, for joining Journeys Interactive. But that's it for the bulletin. For more news, though, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. And we have a number of stories there. The leading one, of course, for Akufo-Addo cannot use Buhari victory as an example. Buhari unites, Akufo-Addo divides. And Ghana must follow Nigeria's example. Make Mahama one-term president. These are stories you can find on our page. That's it. My name is Josuela. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good evening.